the serious challenges that we now face. So at this point, it's time to get back to our earlier program schedule with a thank you in particular to Jill Agnew, who generously donated a few minutes of her speaking time to enable us to hear Shelley speak. So many of you already know Jill, and you know her background. Jill and Charlie Agnew operate Willow Pond Farm in Sabattus. Charlie manages the farm orchard for the most part, and Jill heads up the community-supported agriculture activity on the farm. Jill and Charlie are trailblazers in Maine. There are many, many trailblazers in Maine, particularly around the organic food movement and so on. But Jill and Charlie really spearheaded the CSA activity in the state. They started farming in 1982, and in 1989 they launched the first community-supported agriculture program in the state. That was almost 30 years ago. For those of us who have seen this evolution, it just doesn't seem real, but it has been that long. And of course, the CSA was an unknown and untested and very risky venture back then, but Jill and Charlie were the first in Maine to give it a try. So today, Jill will share her perspective on the CSA model and shine a light on what she sees coming down the road for the community-based marketing model and for the organic agricultural system in general. So please welcome Jill Agnew to the Common Ground Country Fair.
Oh boy. I have never done anything like this before. So every story needs a beginning, and before I begin the story, I want to mention maybe 4 themes that I hope you'll listen to throughout the story. Inspiration, passion, commitment, and support. My beginning was in the inspiration line. My grandparents were dairy farmers in rural Pennsylvania, and I grew up in Pennsylvania. And every weekend and every holiday, I'd be on the farm running around, causing trouble, picking peaches, helping my grandmother shell peas, 12 cousins, and it got into my bones. Of course, you don't know that when you're a child, so pay attention to what your own children are doing. It stayed with me. I'm going to jump start to college. I did the same thing most people do through junior high and high school, and then traveled, and then in college, my last 2 years, I connected to agriculture again. And the technical part I absorbed, and I started nurturing a passion for draft horses. My last year of college, I visited every draft horse owner in Caledonia County, Vermont, and on my bike, because I didn't have a car. And it just grew and grew and grew to a huge passion. And I met Charlie, and he shared that passion. So when we did get married and start a homestead in Washington County, the first thing we did, well, we did it before, but we bought a team of horses and started putting a picture to our vision. And we got a team of horses and farmed and homesteaded and grew our own food and raised animals, and it became the lifestyle we both looked for. But then we moved down to Androscoggin County in 1981, had 2 children, and I think the realities kind of hit that, okay, we needed to pay our bills. And we needed to possibly make a business out of this, because the homesteading was great. Charlie had another job. But suddenly the challenges of making it into a business came in front of us. We had a mortgage, 2 children. And again, inspiration kicked in. I went to a workshop with Elliot Coleman in Vermont, and his theme was market gardening, and he showed a video of a CSA farm in Massachusetts, Indian Line Farm, with Robin Van Ann. I'm sure many of you have seen or known Robin. And when I saw that video, the connection just lit up. Like, I was just lit up. What else could I say? I was so excited. And the passion I had felt for this theme just had a focus. It suddenly took form. The CSA model would work for us. We already were giving horse-drawn wagon rides through our orchard, and that was our niche in the orchard business, and everybody came for the horse-drawn wagon rides. We already had a huge connection in the community for people to come and see the farm and see the animals and ride a horse-drawn wagon ride. They love that. And so it seemed a really natural thing to invite people to come and see the total farm and grow all their food, and it fit in with our model of seasonality. We wanted to have something we did each season. We did the orchard in the fall. We did Christmas trees and wreaths in the winter. Prune trees, and then in the spring we raised vegetables before but never made any money at it, and so we needed that gap filled, and inviting the public to the farm and getting to know them as our community really spoke to me. I didn't want to stand in a farmer's market and have people just come and go and not know who they were. It really tied us to the community, and that became a really rich experience. So the first year I got one Mafka apprentice. This was in 1989, Bill Getty, and he worked with me for 2 years. And we really, that first year, we bumbled through. We worked dawn to dusk, and I hadn't really had experience growing for, well, we sold 35 shares that first year, and all I'd ever done is grown for our own family and neighbors, and I didn't really keep records or anything, but that first year it was like, okay, Bill, record every minute you spend doing everything. We have to know how long it takes us to grow this, how long we spend growing stuff in the greenhouse, how long it takes us to take care of the chickens, the pigs, the turkeys, the horses, the sheep. You know, we just have to break this all down so we can see what we're spending our time on. So I have these really detailed timesheets, which are kind of ridiculous now, but it really helped us see where our labor went. And he made me promise I would get more apprentices the next season. So I did. I had 3 the next season. And as far as getting people to come, like Ted was saying, no one knew what a CSA was in 1989. I should go back a little to the inspiration and the nerve of starting it. Sitting around our kitchen table and sharing my idea with friends and family. And I really have to acknowledge my brother-in-law, Alex Agnew, who's just enthusiasm up the yahoo. And he's going, come on, you can do it, do the whole thing. I was like, no, just do root crops and winter shares the first year, kind of ease up. Oh, come on, just do the whole thing. So I had meetings in Portland, I had meetings in Lisbon, all around our community, and only farmers came. And so then I had a link to the State Department through John Harker, who some of you might also know. And he had a connection with a reporter in the Portland Press-Herald. Well, that was the turning point. This fellow, who I'm sorry I don't remember his name, came to the farm, took pictures, told the story, explained what a CSA was, and said we were having a meeting in Portland that next few days. Well, there were probably 100 people at that meeting, and that was my first shareholder base. They all were in Portland, which is 45 minutes away. Not exactly my community, but it was okay. It was a start. So with that first year and our 35 shares, we had one person, well, we actually had two groups, and one person would drive from the group and bring down to a drop-off place in Portland. So not everybody had to come to the farm every week. We have the group split into two so that some people pick up on Mondays and some people pick up on Thursdays. And we used that model for many years, and then I hired a full-time person, and to do that, we had to expand our shareholder base. So our target goal was 100 shares, and our goal was also to get people right in our community. Our neighbors, 10 miles away, just close by. That really was the goal, community supported. And you can think of the community in a very large sense, which travels all the way down to Portland, and truly that is also true, and all the way up to Augusta and out to Bath and west. We didn't go very far, but this became our shareholder community. And so at that point we grew for that large base. We also sell winter shares, which are once a month all winter, and we added on senior farm shares when that program came on, so we also sell senior farm shares, which involves about 200 households, or maybe even more, I'm not sure. And then, all right, I'm going to go back to my notes. And then we faced time issues. We started growing on 7 acres. Realistically, you should only be able to grow on 1.5 acres or 2 acres per person. We have never had enough help. So therefore, that's why you get me today, having not prepared a speech, having worked a straight run of 2 months, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. And here I am. And this is what I do. But I wouldn't trade it for anything because of the community support part. So you've heard of the inspiration in the story. You've heard of the passion, which is truly mine and mine alone. Everybody has to find their own passion. I just love doing this. I love the interaction with the people. I love growing food. I'm up late at night preserving food because I want to grow food for my family. It's just that suddenly my family involves 250 households. So it becomes a project. And to do that, I need to make sure that focus is there every single day when I get up. I'm going to give you a little synopsis of my day yesterday. Wake up at 4:15, feed the dog. Head to the CSA room, because Thursday's a pickup day, to distribute onions and spaghetti squash, which we had harvested the night before. Get the pick list ready for the apprentices. Arrange the apples in the storage room. Bring the horse out to pasture. Box a bunch of beans for delivery to Ian. Prep the orders for apple and cider, because this is our apple season too. At 6 o'clock, call for all the Hannaford orders, because we deliver apples to Hannaford. Right after that, get the GAP paperwork together, because the GAP inspector's coming at 1:30. I have not done any of the paperwork. At 6:30, meet with the apprentices to go over the day, make sure they're in line on what's happening. They have been wonderful. I have had to fire one. I have 2 now. It's 2 young 21-year-old girls, one 18, I should say, and they're carrying on the load of the entire CSA harvest right now. Pound some coffee. Load 2 trucks with orders for apple deliveries that are going to make 7 stops in 2 directions. It's now 9:15. I get back to 2 people in the driveway wanting to buy apples at the farm stand, because the farm stand opens at 9. So I serve those waiting customers, and then I have to fill the stand because there's no apples and cider in it. And then I do a CSA note. Every week we put a handwritten CSA note with 2 recipes on how people use all the produce. At noon, the dairy delivery arrives from Winter Hill Farm, and at 1, the fish delivery from Port Clyde Fresh Catch, because we let the shareholders purchase all these extra things from when they come and get their vegetables. At noon, the shareholders start arriving for their veggies, and I like to interact with them. They're my friends. At 1:30, the GAP inspector shows up, and I have to take myself away, let Zoe watch the stand. At 2:45, the inspector leaves, and Zoe and Sierra are sent down right away to harvest tomatoes and pumpkins. I have to continue grading because I got to show up here today, and the delivery has to be done at 6 this morning, and all the apples have to be ready. So I do that all afternoon with people coming to the stand and shareholders interaction. At 5:30, when the apprentices are done, we check in and we have some laughs because this is crazy. They're like, wow, do we have to continue doing this every day? Yep. Until the end of October? Yep. A few laughs about that, and then an order of how they're going to get through the next day without me, because they are home alone right now. At 7 o'clock, I close the stand, supposed to close at 6. I make quick turkey burgers and coleslaw, and then head back out to pack apples, because I hadn't finished. And we have to pack the apples into the cooler for storage that got picked that day. I continue grading and packing until I just said, I gotta go to bed. It was 9 o'clock, go inside, fall asleep, and here we are, another day. And this is my day off. So this is really fun. So now the CSA is very stable. The shareholders are my friends. I see their faces. It's just really rich experience. I would never choose to do anything else. I am grateful for every interaction I get to have in my work, and think that it would be really hard to do work that I didn't have that fortifying experience every day. It would be really hard to work that hard if you didn't have that support every day. And then I have to talk about support. My friends. This is where I'll get all choked up. My friends, my family, and the endless community of people that we share each other's lives and that hold me up. That I'm endlessly grateful. Sorry. I'm really emotional about that because it's just wonderful. I'm not supposed to turn my head, but there they are, so I kind of have to. As far as all the other CSAs that are happening now, I can only say that probably every community can support a CSA, and the things that I've found are the importance of finding the people, but then nurturing them along. It's a huge commitment on the shareholders' part, and you have to recognize that and help them, and the recipes help them, talking to them helps them, knowing them and sharing ideas, and knowing when someone hates spaghetti squash that you're there to give them the best recipe there ever was so they can never say they don't like it again. And to know their families. Next year will be the 30th year of the CSA. And what that means is that I've seen these families grow up, have children, the children grow up, and sometimes I have the children as CSA members. And so there's a long history that's really irreplaceable. And I'm supposed to be talking about the future, but man, I don't have any answers for the future, but I have had some really enlightening thoughts, so I will share those with you. and some of them come and go really quickly, and I have to write them down. But the one that happened the most recently was meeting with Karen Bolduc from Food Joy in South Auburn, and she runs one of those packaged meal share plans with like a local version of Blue Apron. And we got to talking, and it again kind of lit up in my head. Now wait a minute. You are dealing with the people that we're having trouble attracting. All our shareholders are older. They have kids. They go from a full share to a half share as the kids graduate and move off, and suddenly they don't need all that food, and then they get older, and then they're like, oh, geez, I don't want to cook so much anymore. And then there aren't the millennials moving in and buying shares. And I think, why not? And where are they? And what are they doing? And how are they eating? Well, they're doing this, and they're ordering this, and they're going for the fast, easy meal plans. They don't have the mothers and the history and the teachers that our generation had. They don't have the inspiration. They don't, like, these things are in my bones. We ate well as a family. My grandparents raised food. We had sat down to meals every night. That really isn't happening anymore. But there are people that want to eat good food. I mean, look at the people that come to the fair, and they want good, local, healthy food, and they want to eat all that amazing stuff. They want it. But there's this little big gap between wanting it and having the skills and the time and the commitment and the passion and the inspiration and the support to do that. And so I think the future might hold offering the support, which I think CSAs do, but maybe like the meal plan thing could be a little segue to CSAs. Like you can join a meal plan for a couple years, and then you're ready to cook. Then you're ready to take a CSA's produce and go ahead and do it yourself, and for a lot less money. Our CSA is the cheapest way you can buy local organic food there is. Not that we're looking for a bargain deal or anything, but the packaged food thing is probably the most expensive. So if you want to bridge that gap, get the information to those people. Once you've had really good food and prepared with heart and soul, and you start eating that way, it doesn't go away. It stays with you. And if we can make that happen for more people that somehow lost track along the way, but they have the desire to eat well and the commitment to buy good food. So let's try and bridge that gap so that they might eventually be able to join a CSA or support local food in some other way that works for them. Just my thoughts on the future. My own future, don't ask. I have no idea. I hope they're not here. If they hear this, they'll run. I have 2 7-year-old grandchildren. I'm banking everything on them. I'm not going to sell the farm. I'm not going to let it go to development. I'm not going to stop doing what I'm doing until I just can't do it. Which is a little scary. Because it's getting kind of crazy. But Charlie's inspiration to me, was it last night or this morning? Working 5 to 9, what a way to make a living. Remember that song? It didn't go that way. It went 9 to 5. That would be so easy. That would really be the way to go. But I wouldn't know what to do with all that. Well, yes, I would. Anyway, that's what I got. Anybody had any questions or?
We have a nice
Jill does have time for a few questions, and we will just have those folks who might have inquiries to come up to the microphone so everyone can hear the question. And while we're getting that set up, I just want to take the time to thank Jill Agnew again for coming out and sharing her thoughts on CSAs, and also present the 2017 version of the Common Ground Country Fair t-shirt. So, thank you, Jill.
Thank you. Hi, Jill. Hi, Jill. I want to know how to make spaghetti squash, so you'll never want to eat. I mean, so you will continue to want to eat it. It's in the Moosewood cookbook. Okay, that's the best way. So you know it's got cheese, cottage cheese, herbs. It's really good. We love you. Thanks.
Hi, great story. Do you eat well? Do you have time to eat well? And who cooks for you?
Who cooks for you? I cook every meal. I could probably prepare a good dinner in 10 minutes. I think food all the time, as you imagine. So as I'm down in the field and you're harvesting potatoes, I think of a potato meal. I always have stuff semi-prepared. You should see our refrigerator. So when I came in at 7:30 and the turkey burgers were ready at 7:40, it's because I'm ready. I got beets cooked, I got coleslaw made, I just have stuff all the time, as probably a lot of you do. You grow your food, you make a bunch, you eat a bunch, and I do cook every meal, and I eat good food every night. And I'm lucky. I'm so lucky.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Don't get too far out, Emma. Don't get too far out in front of it.
Hi, Jill. My family and I are one of your earliest subscribers. We've had to move to Massachusetts at this point, but we remember you very well. When we first started, you had work share as part of the arrangement. Have you kept that up, or is that something you've had to change away from?
Now we still have work shares. I guess there are a lot of details I didn't really mention, not knowing how long it takes to talk, but we still do work shares where we offer sometimes the entire share price is off if they work 75 hours and on down to a partial work share, and I accept 6 work share people. So some people work share their entire share cost off. Heather, you want some of my again?
But work share is pretty rare in the CSA business, isn't it? You're the only CSA I know of that has actually done that.
That I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't get out much.
Thank you very, very much. Keep it going.
That was me about 5 years ago before I had a hip replacement. Double hip replacement.
That's good.
Thank you, Jill. I can't hear it. I try really, really hard to eat healthy and to eat organic every chance I get. I go to a farmer's market that runs in Bangor on Sundays. It's awesome. If I'm in the grocery store, I want to buy organic. My question is this: how do we close the gap in price between Hannaford's carrots from wherever and organic local carrots? Because the organic stuff is always more expensive.
Well, again, I'd have to say that if you get a share through our CSA, you're if I do a cost analysis of it, which I try not to because it's not about the money, it's about what it takes to support the farm and the farmer and all the people it takes to do the work. But logically speaking, people do have to think of their finances and it might be on a budget. But over the past few years, it's only cost $1.70 a pound for all vegetables. So I don't think you can find vegetables that cheap anywhere. And the problem being, I probably give way too much food for somebody. And you don't get to choose what you get. Now, we have the original CSA model where we grow for the number of shares we sell, 35 feet of carrots per share, on and on and on through all the shares, and you get whatever we harvest. And it seems like we give a whole lot of food, and so people sometimes get overwhelmed that it's too much food. So a single person might feel a little bit overwhelmed by even a half share, yet I am not in a place of redoing the model so that a share would be okay for a single person or a person that really doesn't eat very much. The senior farm shares are. We do $10 bags every other week, and it's still, we pick the produce, but the volume is way less. But you're paying more per pound for the food that way too. So how else to bridge the gap? I'm not sure, except possibly finding a CSA that will do a smaller quantity, because I really can't find any models besides the CSA or buying seconds at the farmer's market where you can actually get organic produce for a reasonable amount of money. I mean, I shouldn't say reasonable, it's all reasonable. Any amount you spend on food is reasonable, but within different budget categories.
I was a member of a CSA in the past. It's been several years. After listening to you, I think that I want to look into that again and see if I can get a share in the Bangor area.
Have a conversation with your farmer, because if anyone doing a CSA is relating to their people. It's their peeps. And we want to make it work for as many people as possible. And it's really a question of how much time you can take to individualize things. But over the years, we have. And it's really not so hard, and it embraces a larger part of the community. So you just really have to have that conversation with the farmer.
I can do that this Sunday. Thank you so much, Jill.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, Ken.
Hi, Jill.
Hi.
And Charlie.
See you.
So good you made it. And I have a question. Well, first of all, when my daughter comes back to Maine, she can't wait to get a hold of your apple cider.
No, listen.
It's like the best. So, but my question though is have you been transitioning to an organic orchard in any way, or are you pretty staying more conventional or that sort of thing?
Yeah, we have 45 trees that are certified through MACA as being organic. And then the rest of the orchard is IPM managed. And are we transitioning? No. It's a huge part of our farm income. And the Hannaford, as much as I hate to admit it, we have two major businesses on the farm. One is the CSA and the other is Hannaford, and they sit like this. And if we give one up, the other one just, the trees are 75 to 100 years old. We can't cut them down. We can't, we've tried doing organic management, and that hasn't worked. And we don't have it in our hearts to cut them down. So we have to manage what they are in the most conscionable way we can, which is what we're doing.
But you're doing like a low spray kind of thing.
We're IPM, yeah, we do an IPM program with those trees. And we need a marketable apple, and we make a lot of cider.
Well, Jill, just thank you so much for giving to our community. I really appreciate it.
Same to you, Ken. Oh, there's Charlie. Hi, Charlie. I work with kids in gardens. Are you getting the really young ones to get so excited about their first tomato that they pick the fruit themselves? Are they getting onto the garden, onto the farm? When we started, we made a big deal about the kids' garden and the pick your own flower and herb garden. And so we would have our kids were young too, sorry. And we planted a garden specifically for children to be able to go pick things whenever they wanted and not get yelled at for picking a carrot too little or a tomato too green or whatever. And that was a huge success for many years. But that's what 30 years evolution does. We got older, our kids got older, and suddenly, like, there weren't the kids coming to weed that garden, and so it became one more thing we had to do. So we stopped doing that. We still invite the children to come to the garden. We still have a pick your own herb and flower garden. But the one thing I've heard over and over is, my kid won't eat this at home. They only eat it when they're on the farm. Like, they really love to be munching on carrots as they walk out of the CSA room, or eating pears, or whatever they came to the farm for. They're eating it as they go out, and then it gets harder when they get home to feed them those foods. Like, there's something about being on the farm and eating that food right there that has had appeal, and I really have noticed that, so that's kind of cool.
So, I don't suppose you recognize me, but I came to meet you back in, goodness, mid-90s. Yeah, and you helped me start a CSA of my own. And we used a slightly different model from what you did. We had working shareholders as well as paying shareholders. And the working shareholders would show up on a Saturday morning, and they'd help me do the picking and washing and sorting and putting into coolers. And they wouldn't pay a thing. And we'd feed them breakfast. And it was a wonderful, wonderful way, in the same way that you have already shown us, about building a community. So thank you, Jill, for all of that. It's been a wonderful time.
Thank you, Peter. Yeah.